Can everybody hear me? Welcome. Does the music drive you crazy? I was kind of grooving on it. Joe Isabel, Mike Reese, Lord Needham, Brand New American. Hey man, Honey Bear. Can y'all all hear me? I'm glad you guys are here. Sweet. So did everybody have a good week? Shark Guy ATX, Sopex Scooter. And I don't blame y'all if y'all are over there at MC's because he gives away good stuff. We've got a giveaway later, but y'all can come back for it. I just decided to go live a little bit early. Just saw y'all in the chat and figured I wanted to say hey to you guys. And instead of typing, we just go ahead and get this show on the road. We might have some guests stop by. It might be just us. But either way, I'm glad y'all are here. D-Metal. Welcome, buddy. Lord Needham. So, Crispy Critter, when you said stitches stay in, that's a good thing? So I'm going to show you guys what I carry today. And then we can do a quick pocket check. I carried my little bird blade slim. And then I carried this is a tight little Kydex sheet. My MagnaCut 3/4 inch flat chickadee. And I carried two, but I was traveling today. So what all did you guys carry? I'll try to read them all off. Let me get my YouTube comments up here. Ooh. Kyle Coonley. Glad to see you, buddy. I'm really bumming too because I had ordered another little camera, a webcam, and it didn't come in. It's gotten stuck, I guess, in New York. All right, so pocket stuff carried a Factor B2 and a Cuvist PE2 variant. Very nice, very nice. Lord Needham, the Damn Steel Mini Tempest, the Field Duty, and the Bexar. I'm thinking about getting a Field Duty, just to be honest with you guys. Let's see. Mike Reese carried the Wii Mini Malice and the Devo Mash. I missed out on the Mash, and I love my Mini Malice. Patina Turner carried the Spyderco PPT, and the Quiet carried the West. Nice. Well, guys, we will do a giveaway later, and I thought long and hard about this one. This is a knife. Ooh, Honey Bear, the SPK Lamina coming in hot in a Bark River Trailmate 2 today. Interesting. Let's see. I was curious about that particular Trailmate. How long is it compared to the Burden? What is this? The small game? Is it smaller than this, Honey Bear? The Bark River? Or does it look bigger than that in your hand? I bet we've got the same size hand. Just curious. Hangman's got the field duty. That is a great knife, guys. Again, I don't know if y'all watched my videos, but my number one is my field duty EDC. I don't have the full size, but my buddy A to Z EDC does have it, and he has the other 4-inch field duty. Joe Isabel's carrying the Tucson TS220, the Mini Penguin, the Boker Little Davlin Tanto Fixie, and a Quaken OTF. Nice carry. Lord, need 3 bowls of cereal or 1 bowl of ice cream for supper. I can give no comment when it comes to bowls, but this little knife is a Boker Lancer. It's been in my collection for probably 2 years. It was one of the nicer knives in my collection when I first got it. I never carry it. It's copper. You could tell it hadn't cut anything except cardboard, maybe some paper. But it's S35VN. That flipper hole, the only downside about this knife is you can't get to that flipper hole from your reverse flick hand. You can finger roll it, or you can pop it open. But I figured I'd pass that on to somebody in the chat tonight. And again, it says 35VN. It's copper. It's a hefty knife. It's a nice knife. It's a safe knife. I checked it for lock stick. Checked it for lock fail. Since I guess this is the thing to do now, to make sure y'all don't spine whack them. But we'll give that away later on. And who knows? But I'm glad you guys are here. Somebody's knocking.
I didn't knock. I just come in.
How are you, my friend?
I'm all right. I'm doing better.
What do you think about the mood music?
I'm sorry?
What do you think about the mood music? Can you hear it?
I hear it now, but it's got drum beats to it.
It's very quiet. I
heard the orchestra or the instrumental part, the horns, whatever. I don't know what you call it. Little bit.
Jazzy. It's a jazzy loop, is what I call it.
I call it music to take a nap by.
Can't be falling asleep on me.
Oh,
so how was your day, buddy?
Oh, it's fine. Went to work.
Awesome. What'd you carry?
To work today, I carried the XM18.
Gotcha.
Tonight I come packing.
What you packing tonight?
I've got a Bird Blades, Iron Wolf, JK, Strider, and what's the other one? I forgot what else I stuck in my pocket. Hang on. I got too many pockets.
See, I'm having to make him wiggle around his pockets, guys. I apologize if any of you are getting nervous.
I brought the Chavez out.
What's up? What's that?
I brought the Chavez out too.
Ah, the 229?
Yeah. I brought the knives that I brought out on purpose in case we get onto that real sensitive topic that's going on here lately.
About detents?
Yeah, about detents and foreign manufacturer and pre-orders and shit being fucked up. You know, when you pay hundreds of dollars.
I will go ahead and give the JuhVon's opinion on that because I'm in business and shit gets fucked up. It sucks. And it sucks when you don't have a chance. I'm not going to put this off on Leon because I think he trusted Riot. I think every one of those knives came sealed. So I don't think Leon saw the action of any of those. I think they went straight to the customers from him. And I think because of a turn of events, Leon came out and made a video apologizing and then made an offer. If you don't like your detent, He'll send it back because basically it's going to have another detent ball, guys. If you saw Jared's video where he had them taken apart, the detent ball's so small, but when A to Z jumps in here in just a little while, he has no problem with that knife. He loves it. He has his field duty that he got from you.
Yeah.
The detent's not that much different.
Right. It's only slightly heavier in the.
Slightly heavier. So when it comes to what I think about that, I think it's unfortunate. I think the drama that went down because of Leon being hurt, I'm convinced that came from a place of hurt feelings and low emotional intelligence to lash out like a child. Because I love Leon Mott. I've talked to him since this all went down, and he knows that it was wrong, the way he came out, and it was defensive, but he was hurt. And he feels like, he's been hurt by his friend, Riot. He feels like, but Jared made the best point of all. When a call would have been warranted, would have been if Leon had sent out prototypes to a few people and let them, get some. There were no prototypes ever in this process. That's one thing that was missing in this pre-order, because prototypes could have prevented, or at least made a lot of this stuff get ready for or let people know it's going to have what they call a slow detent. Or how did Riot explain that? There are three different.
I haven't seen any Riot part. I've only seen some of Jared's, some of Leon's on Instagram, and then of course some of the other chatter around the interweb, about it. I mean, I don't know what Riot said. For me, I think a lot of Leon's over sending them out when he shouldn't have is he was afraid because he had a shitload of customers who were complaining because they've been waiting over a year for the knife. I don't know if what some are implying that he fucked around with money and got himself in a pickle is true. Don't care. My thing with it is he is a knife designer and seller. Okay. My only issue is and I don't have a dog in the race. I don't know Leon Mott. I like his knife designs. I don't like pre-orders. And that's one of the things I liked about Leon before is he didn't do pre-orders. But all he had to do was inspect 1,000 knives. If the order was even that big. I don't know how big the order was. If the order was 500 knives, 1,000 knives.
It was 1,000, and he could have inspected. It's unrealistic to inspect all of them, but he could have inspected 10%. Well, it's not. But he could have caught it.
Something Obscene Company quality checks every single knife. Him and his wife does. Felix, they quality check it. He'll post on Instagram when the knife shows up, and he'll say, "Give me a couple of weeks because me and my wife are going to inspect every one of these," and they do. And that's why, as an example, with the left run that he did, that A to Z also has one of them. He didn't send out the fucked up Locatide tips. He had to go and contact customers because Riot sent him bad blades. They were the wrong versions of Damasteel. He had like 4 Damasteel options, and Riot just sent him some random Damasteel that wasn't one of the 4 options that you had to choose from. So people had paid $2,000 for Damasteel A, and it never showed up. And he was able to catch every flaw and send the Lex back and get everything adjusted and fixed in regards to the Lex to prevent those kind of things, because that's all he does for a living is he designs knives. He does make knives too, but he designs knives and he's a custom knife maker. But his pocket knives, his folders are all custom or Riot made. And he goes through and inspects every one of them before he ships them out. I mean, 1,000 knives, yeah, you might miss 1 or 2, but 50%, if you can flick open the knives You can flick open how many times do you flick a day driving down the road, John? You can flick open 1,000 knives in 2 weeks. 2 more weeks would have prevented this. There would have been no cracked micarta, no cracked carbon fiber or chipped or whatever the case may be. And he would have known that the detents were light, and he could have got ahead of it. I know he learned from this experience. It's just that when that's your only job is to design knives and then sell them, because other than that, he just goes to like every knife show in the country. And I'm sure he's got some other side ventures going on, side interests or whatever. But he's also involved in the knife community. He has to have known what happened to Sharp by Design. He has to know what happened to Something Obscene Company. He has to have known what happened to, and of course I know it's another manufacturer, but what just happened to Rotten Designs when how long it took. Of course, that was a war that put the Evo 3.0 behind, but he knows that those kind of things can happen. He's been in this game for a long time. And he should have known to that was my only thing is he should have inspected it. And 1,000 knives is not hard to take a couple of weeks. Hell, it's already been fucking a year and a half.
Yeah.
Nearly. Go ahead and take 2 more weeks. Yeah, everybody's pissed. Take 2 more weeks. Check your shit, man.
And then you catch the COA debacle too.
Yeah.
Unless those were shipped to the wrong person, depending on how that worked out.
Well, I mean, we get pissed off at Benchmade for sending out a bad knife when they make 30,000 plus knives a month. I think Zach and from Zach's stuff said they manufacture 36,000 knives a month, and we get mad when some of them get out that are bad. That's 36,000. What does he think's going to happen when he sends out half a batch, and something's wrong with half the batch? I mean, people lose their shit over.
Yeah, I think they're all like that. I think that's the bottom line, and I agree with you, Pretty Fly. I mean, it was a very small detent ball. If y'all saw Jared's response, he had it compared, or the size of the detent ball next to a knife that's halfway its size, and it was much smaller. He had the mini Corvid detent ball is what the size of the Leon Mod detent ball was.
I think it's Riot has gotten too big for their britches, in my own opinion. I know a lot of people aren't going to want to hear that. A lot of people love Riot, but I mean, there's just been too many issues that keep popping up with them here lately. Yeah,
because that's why I don't think. I think Leon could have prevented a lot of it. I'm trying to think what he could have prevented by checking them, except being more transparent with people. I mean, they were already made at that point. I would think hopefully the things that come out of something like this is always, if you're going to do a pre-order, buy 6-7 knives from Riot, even though you trust them to do whatever you trust them to do, and send those out. And let people give you feedback.
In a lot of ways, that blows my mind that he didn't do prototype. I did not know that, obviously, that he did not do any form of prototyping on that.
Now, I'm just going by what I've heard. Shane is in the comments. See, I'll just jump in here because I know I sent him a link. But I'm trying to think. Jared's the one that said it in his video. That had you sent me a prototype, but you didn't do prototypes on this order.
Well, even if he would have done a prototype, to be honest, Riot still could have changed the detent ball because they used the detent balls they had there on hand, and they're trying to cut corners.
But then Leon would have a huge leg to stand on and say, "Hey, no, fuck you, this is wrong," and send them back.
That is true. That is true. He would have had an argument, but he would still have 1,000 pissed off customers.
Right.
And that's the part where I was saying I think he got scared. Then shit kind of blew up in his face, and I think that's where he went off on Jared. Is he reacted out of emotion?
Yeah.
And I mean, because he's looking at, and Shane brought it up in his video, he's looking at having to cough back up tens of thousands of dollars,
Right.
Of replacements, potentially full refunds, and things of that nature. And then he's sitting there with tens of thousands of dollars worth of knives. I don't know his legal arrangement with Riot, and it's irrelevant anyway. It's a Chinese company, so American laws don't mean shit.
No.
So he has no legal repercussions with them, whether he thinks he does or not. Riot can just tell him to piss off and beat feet. And
That's
then
unfortunate.
All he could do is go to another manufacturer. But like I said, that was my thing. The reason I brought out these other pocket knives was to make my point of I'm against. And I hate to say it because I love Lefty, I love KC, and some of these other folks that are trying to become knife designers and start an actual knife company, because I've heard both of them say that they would like to actually get to the point where they're like
Sure.
Devo Knives is its own freestanding entity. Tempest Knives is its own freestanding entity. And so I understand they're doing what they got to do to get to point B. But me personally, I mean, it's too nerve-wracking to have that much money. I saw, I'd love to have an Evo. And Rotten Designs put out the Evo 4.0 pre-orders coming up next week. $200 down, $450 on delivery. God knows how long the wait will be. Well, I don't want to have, $200.
A Spyderco sitting out there in La La Land,
Well,
knowing that you're going to have to pay another $450. Which, I mean, if you know what you're going to be getting into anyway.
If you get the base model, you got to pay another $450. It goes up from there, up to a couple $1,000s for full dress models.
Any of those drop? Did anybody? Wasn't there a couple of retailers who had some of those drop? Because I just saw
NC Blade did right after the last, when the 3.0 showed up. They've dropped them and they sold out. I mean, I could have got one. I think they were $700 or $750 for the base model, something like that. After the initial drop, I don't know how many he had. I know it didn't disappear, but of course it's a very expensive knife just to vanish. But I got the email from NC Blade and I was at work. I don't know what time I got it versus what time I checked it, but they still had, I know they lasted a couple of days.
Well, I was just curious because I was surprised today, or not today because I was driving. It must have been yesterday. I was looking, and I don't remember if it was Rivers Cutlery or DLT, but the what's this knife called? I don't know why I can't think of it. The gum.
Something of Mayhem. No, that ain't
Gotta miss
Mayhem.
you. Gotta miss you. But it's on 2 websites in 2 different configurations.
Yeah.
Right now it's available, which, is long after it came and was gone. Because I bought mine not as a pre-order, but because they were available somewhere. And that's how I deal with pre-orders, because I've sworn them off. I mean, I've literally sworn off pre-orders. Now, when it comes time for somebody like Lefty to do a small batch on the Growler, because I love that knife, I will probably, here's my buddy, Edgy American.
What's up, guys?
Hey, man.
For me, I have to be universal and not show preferential treatment, because I would feel guilty if I bought the Tempest and didn't buy one of Kevin's. It's the same reason I'm not a member of any channel, because my wife would kill me because I'd have to be the member of like 50. I have to treat everybody the same when it comes to the community, for my own sanity and my dealing with my wife.
Goes off into knives.
It doesn't matter. I have to be sane with. If I was a member of 20 or because I watch like 20 different lives, and every one of them have channel memberships. If I was a member of every one of those, my wife would shit a brick. Why are you paying $60, $70, $80 a month? I mean, when you think about it, that to all these different channels, it's only $2 or $3 a pop, and it's the same. But I do the same thing. I treat everybody the same when it comes to their knives. I just have to. I can't, because I'd feel guilty if I didn't. And so I just choose to swear off of them, period. Plus, I don't want to end up with $5,000 worth of knives I'm waiting on.
Tree Savage Troy, Michael Morgan, pretty fly. What's up, guys?
All the way from KC's, current one through the Knoll Knives, Raiden, which I saw, or not Raiden, but whatever the Knoll Knives is, because I saw he did another last chance thing today. Huh?
The Tanto looking one?
Yeah. There's just so many throughout the gamut that heck, you could easily end up with $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 worth of knives floating out there, or cash floating out in limbo. And nothing to show for it for a year, 2 years, year and a half, because it seems like all of them are crazy weights now.
Okay.
How's it going, Shane?
I wanted to chime on that, guys. I've done a lot of thinking about this since I posted the video, trying to think what could Leon done differently. Let's completely forget the whole Jerry situation. But and the conclusion I came to is very little. Dark Gravity's right. He could have QC'd them individually. There's no doubt in my mind. That very well could have been done. But here's the issue. It had been 16 months. Yeah. He was in such a crunch. People were on his ass about their knife and their money, and having to wait so long that there was no way he was going to wait another 2 weeks. And what it all boils down to, in my opinion, just for me and how I decide where I'm going to spend my money, is that, one, Leon is not a knife maker. Two, he is solely responsible for the quality of that knife. However, he doesn't make it. Three, because he did a pre-order, he wasn't able to take the time that he needed to produce a quality product and ship it out. So the situation was screwed to begin with.
Well, how's that different than anybody else's?
Let me ask you this, John. If he had gotten those knives in and thought, man, the details wrong on all these, and then sent them back, how urgent do you think Riot would have been to fix that knife versus making knives that they're going to make money off of?
Well, you and I know
they don't care about us. They just want to make money. And that's not just Chinese company. That's any company, I'm sure. But
right.
Yeah, there was never a positive outcome.
My question is, anybody that does a pre-order, what did Leon miss that everybody's not held to the same? They're hostage to those same things, like the manufacturer doing what they're contracted to do. I mean, because at some point that could happen to anybody. I'm just curious.
Right. John, I could easily fall back on, being the knife community asshole and say, well, that's what you get from ordering a knife from China, or saying, well, that's what you get, when you participate in a pre-order, or that's what you get for buying a knife from a knife company that doesn't make knives. All these things are risky.
And they are risky.
Literally, we I guess, as bad as it sounds, we don't have a right to be mad. I didn't buy one, but the people who did buy them, I guess, don't have a right to be mad, because had they thought about what they were doing to begin with, they would have realized that if this goes wrong, I'm screwed.
Well, I hope A to Z jumps in here, because, he loves his. He's compared it to the one that he got from Dark Gravity, and
John,
you know,
I've got an old guard I just acquired. The reason I've got it is because the owner didn't like the action. It works perfect for me. I need that soft detent. I can't shake the blade out, but the detent's not good enough for it to just fire like everybody wants it to. Works perfect for me to slow roll it. It's one of the only thumb stud knives I own that I can easily open. So, you know, I don't know that this was ever going to be a win-win situation unless Riot just delivered a perfect product to begin with. But what we need to keep in mind is the best way to avoid this is to buy knives from people who make knives. That's my opinion. You know, if you're willing to take that risk, buy whatever you want. By all means, if it makes you happy, buy it. But you know, I think if anybody learns anything from this, they need to learn that it's a risky proposition anytime you're buying a knife from a designer who does not make knives, or a designer who can't physically repair the knife himself. Because Leon can't go back and drill a new hole in the lock bar, the new hole in the blade, and install a larger detent. He's not capable of doing that. So, you know, what if he had have checked them all and sent them back, and then made an Instagram post saying, "Hey guys, I wasn't happy with this knife. I shipped it back to Riot. I'll let you know when it gets here." It would have been just as bad.
Did y'all see Lefty's video? He made a really good point about the detent and the size of the hole. With the hole being so big, it makes the detent seem worse than it actually is.
Yeah, I don't know,
but I get your point too. I mean, that's 100% true. I mean, it can happen. You know, it can happen to anybody. I mean, any one of our designer buddies could
No. It could happen to anybody, John. The people it doesn't happen to are the people who produce a product, QC it, realize it's exactly what they're going to say it is, and then put it up for sale.
Well, what about the rare people like Jason Grant who are machinists who could, if something came in, have the, you know, he does prototypes though, and does several versions of prototypes.
SG are doing these prototypes.
What's that?
SG Knives does these prototypes.
Mm-hmm. But he gets them from Best Tech too.
Right.
Before
I guess what I'm getting at is Jason's been lucky. You know, a lot of people have been lucky. You know, I mean, this doesn't happen all the time where we get a prototype comes in and it's not what we expected. But you know, we just need to keep in mind that it's a possibility.
Well, I don't think Leon did prototypes. That's one thing I think that could have been done differently. Right. I don't think there was ever a prototype where.
Keep in mind, guys, when I said it's that was my theory that the reason why what started this snowball effect is that you know, I theorized that maybe he collected that money and didn't have enough of it left over to pay Riot for the final, you know, the final installment on what he owed them. I don't know that that's true. I think that's what happened. You know, that was 100% what in my head. I have no proof of that.
Normally, a pre-sale, they get the cost of manufacturing and break it down. You know, so I know that KC has kind of hinted at that, / said that. Lefty had said that. So let's just say the order's $30,000. They're ordering 1,000 knives. They have to get $300 a piece or $30 a piece, you know, to pay for the knives.
I mean, look at what Kevin did. Kevin spent what, $4,000 having a couple of prototypes made by M3, and before he ever signed the contract or paid for a production run, something came up. You know.
Thank God.
So Kevin lost some money, but Kevin's reputation wasn't hurt because he had an opportunity to realize he wasn't getting what he thought he was paying for.
I think the money that he got burned in that deal, he will more than make up in the credibility that it gave to Devo Knives. And now there's some people out there I've read, and I've just now started to go to Reddit, but there's some weird, definitely people that don't spend any time over here in our chats, that don't know Lefty and think he's, 50% knew what he was getting into.
Yeah.
Well, you'll find that. I mean, there's some people that are just so devoted to various
Jay, what's up,
manufacturers,
buddy?
they almost have an emotional stake in whatever product it is. Whether it's Ford versus Chevy or football, their in-state rivalries, or whether it's a knife manufacturer. People get emotionally attached to things, especially when they spend a lot of money on it or a lot of time studying it. I'll be straight up honest. I love the Strider S&G.
That's one
Mine's
of my
smooth.
favorite designs of all time.
But a lot of people hate it. And do I get a little tinge of butt hurt when somebody's on, YouTube talking about how it's a piece of shit because you can't flick it? You can't, I can Spidey flick mine, but, it doesn't have bearings and it doesn't have, this, that, or the other. And it's not, sculpted titanium, but, from the hands of sweet baby Jesus.
That
And,
knife wasn't made for them.
Oh, I know. And that's the way I look at it, but it's
Right.
still, because I have so much money tied up in them, I still get, I think it's that emotional, financial, and the fact that I love the design like you, and I love the knife. I think it's, you get all these emotions and things tied up into some products and some items that, somebody comes and bashes it, just like with Leon Ma reacting the way he did. I mean,
Glad to
that
hear
kind
it,
of stuff,
Tactical Terry.
it just gets to you. And some people are blinded by that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure I have been. I can't think of nothing right off the top of my head, but I'm sure I've been blinded by,
Right.
some will say I'm blinded by the whole Strider thing.
Well,
His
and Dr.
because
I'm
I'm
sure,
a veteran.
if you take all the knife reviewers in the world who've had something bad to say about the SNG, they don't add up to the amount of, don't get me wrong, not everybody gets one, but I'm sure you've seen a Strider SNG with a military serial number on it. I'm sure those guys don't add up to the amount of special operators and frontline guys who depended on that knife, who they depended on that knife for the life and death. That's what that knife was made for. It wasn't made for us to come on and flick and drop it shut and all that shit. He designed that knife for
and if you look at
the might actually have to use it.
And if you look at the knives, if you look at the knives designed for work like that, they are like that. The Sabenza, the Spartan Harsey, the the Strider, the original Hinderer, the Emerson knives. Those are knives. Those are knives designed for people either in combat or first responders in shitty situations.
It does tickle me though how a lot of people in the knife community want to scoff at that and make jokes about it. And they come up with the whole word tactical. Just ignore it, man. It wasn't made for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I've got a benchmade here now, guys, that I could send back and have rebladed. That there's an inch of the tip missing, and when I die, there'll still be an inch of the tip of that knife missing because the other inch is in a hole in Afghanistan, still wedged in some Taliban fighter's body. That knife did exactly what it was designed to do. Had it been a Strider, it probably wouldn't have broke. But the point is that, we want to make fun of designs that they weren't made for us. They didn't care what a YouTube reviewer was going to think about it.
Ernest Emerson, embraces, I don't want to say tactical, but he embraces, his knives are designed for people with intent. Right. His knives are designed for the worst situations. I can't remember all his little slogans.
Yeah, I mean, when if you go all the way back into history, even as recent as the American Indians, they weren't breaking breaking rocks into sharp edges to cut cardboard.
Correct.
The reason they needed sharp, pointy objects were to kill things. That was the origin of a bladed object, was to kill things.
And, right.
Some people still need that. I guarantee you, Dakota Meyer would have much rather had a good quality knife in his hand to kill that last fighter he had to kill to get his buddies out of that situation, instead of having to bash the man's head in with a rock.
Yeah.
You know, there are people out there who still need a deadly implement. And some of us, like me and you, you know, because we're both, you know, overgrown man-child, you know, we like the idea of it. We like the look of it. We want to own a little piece of it, even though we'll never use it for that. It just tickles me. That's why I can't hardly watch a Knife Center video. The way David C. Anderson kind of giggles under his breath every time he says tactical. You know, well, I understand that you're just a bushcrafter, but, you know, there are people buying those knives because they need those knives.
Yeah.
You know?
Their situations put them in that type of situation every day.
Right.
Or they could potentially be in that situation every day.
I mean, there's nothing. The thing is every knife design out there, there's nothing wrong with them as far as their design. I mean, yes, there's some manufacturing flaws where they have bad detents, bad finger choils, things of that nature, bad lockup. But I'm talking about your general design.
You're in the military, right, Revity?
Yeah.
You're a veteran. Would you rather have a knife that makes a clicking sound when you unlock it because it has lock stick, or a knife that has lock failure?
I want the knife to lock. I mean, I had one not lock one day, and tried to cut off the end of my finger.
Exactly.
Because of a lock failure. And
which is more important in the knife community? In our knife community, which is more important? Lock stick is just unacceptable. Can't have it. But when you mention spine tapping a knife to see if the lock works, that's just the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Why would anybody ever do that? Well, I understand it's not important to a guy sitting at a desk cutting a sheet of paper, but there are people in this world who need to know that lock's not going to fail.
Well, they need to know the lock's not going to fail, but I think sometimes I look at it from a military perspective, and I also look at it as I'm a civilian now. As a civilian, it's pretty much irrelevant to me. And now, don't get me wrong, there is a level of lock failure. Like I said, this finger right here, that got cut all the way to the freaking bone. It was squirting blood across my dining room. You know, yes, there is a point where lock failure is a major issue.
And a very popular knife, by the way. A very popular knife.
But if I have to go and start whacking it, on a table to get the vibration just right, because see, that's what was happening to Zero Tolerance. It was a vibration, and they didn't have quite a steep enough angle, and so it was doing. But now there's some that are just really bad. Right. But I mean, the thing is, like I said, with this Strider, that you can't hear any lock stick when I lock it or unlock it. You can't hear it. There's no lock stick.
My 0452 I got rid of because I could literally tap it on the palm of my hand and it would fall shut. I had a Tucson that was the same way. Now, for a lot of people out there, that may be fine. I'm not going to own that.
The one that I've got that does that is the Vandal.
Yeah.
The one from Love Get
Your Kaiser, if you remember, that I borrowed from you to do a review on.
But it went away.
I know. I was so prepared to trash that knife because every time I checked it, I could barely tap it. It'd fall shut. Then I go to do the video, never did it again. So it broke in. But I'm just saying, it just tickles me at times to hear people who have never been in a situation where their life depended on a knife.
You can see halfway lockup, almost 50% lockup, and no lock stick. I mean, a lot of titanium knives that are titanium on steel will have lock stick to start with. A lot of people love to use these super ninja lubes that they got nowadays. That'll cause lock stick. Now, some are just, too close, too tight, and have lock stick because of that. Some are just, bad QC. Oops, got out of the plant, got out of the factory. But I mean, the whole carbonized, titanium and the whole insert bar and all that kind of stuff. I can remember back in the 90s and in the early 80s early 2000s with the original, Chris Reeve knives, and they didn't have it it was not a catastrophe. It's still considered the greatest knife you could buy. These knives are made exactly the same way as they were, 20 years ago. There's nothing changed on the S&G or the SMF or the PT. The designs
They've
are
had
all
plenty of iterations if they felt like they needed to add a carbonized lock face or
if it was a devastating issue, they would. Now there's some like Grimsmo and various other makers that do that use just straight titanium and do carbonize their lock faces, and there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, it is a good idea. It prevents a potential issue. But if you ever watch it, that just adds more price to the cost to the price. Because
that hander that I made the video on today, not that knife would ever be in that situation, but I was really shocked at how good the action was on that thing. Best action I've ever experienced on a hander. And for what I understand, he's starting to concern himself a little more with that and make his action better. The first few hinders I picked up, which were probably 4 or 5 years old at the time, were horrible. I mean, it was just, just limp dick. And that's fine that he's upgrading that and improving that to make the the knife community, the new knife community happy. But it's not necessary. What was necessary when a guy in the military or law enforcement or whatever picked a knife like that was that it was overbuilt. It could stand up to whatever they were going to do with it. And guys, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that people, that lefty or tri-state or anybody that's just super hung up on action is wrong. I'm just saying that the people who aren't wrong either.
Sure.
There's a whole other group of people out there who use a bladed object for more than pocket jewelry and something to calm their nerves when they're bored.
From my experience and my observation around my world, which y'all live in very similar area, and very similar world, the people I know that carry and use knives, I couldn't tell you the last time they were fucking cleaned, much less they could be drop shut. Yeah. I mean, half the people I meet, they pull their pocket knife out and open it, and 10 pounds of lint and dog shit flies out of it.
And from where they've cleaned stuff or cut food.
Yeah.
I mean, people that use knives.
Or it's assisted. I mean, let's face it, the leak has sold.
Right.
They've sold more Kershaw leaks than every knife designer we know will ever in their entire lifetime sell. So what does that tell you? We keep forgetting that we are a tiny, tiny portion.
Very tiny.
By knives.
Very tiny, because most of the people I work with carry knives, and there's 3 of us that are knife guys out of 150 people in the plant I work in.
Kev, Scotty, and Tree Stabbing Troy. Tree Stabbing Troy is the reason I've got this little knife.
When I buy my firearms, Dark Gravity, I know for a fact, because I've owned one, I put 1,000 rounds through a high point. Never had a failure. The gun was accurate. The gun cycled rounds. The gun worked perfectly. However,
and another one, you could beat the shit out of somebody with it.
Exactly. However, when I buy firearms to keep, and I'm only going to use when my life depends on it, I want something that's battle tested, regardless whether I'll ever be in battle or not. And sometimes that is what I look for in a knife. Probably never going to be in a knife fight. Don't know how to do it, but you know,
Well,
when I buy that, that's still what I want. It just tickles me that these guys want to poke fun at them and, you know, make fun of something that they don't understand because they've lived this cushy life where they've never been downrange, they've never been in harm's way. You know, I don't know. It just tickles me. Sometimes I let it get to me, you know, as a being somewhat disrespectful, but then I remember that's why there's only, you know, 1% of the population that agrees to die for everybody else's right to buy whatever the fuck they want.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
I've been into John quite a bit about the whole deal with not looking at knives for what their design intent is. What purpose are they designed for, and then complaining about it. I mean, I've been very clear on my stance with the whole Hinderer deal with Brian.
Yeah.
My issue wasn't the knife design. I disagree with Brian because I understand what that knife is designed for, and it doesn't need 7 thousandths behind the edge in a you know, to be, you know, a super slicey, you know, scalpel, because that's not what it's designed for. But where I had issue was how Hinderer reacted to Brian, because Brian has a right to his opinion. I just disagree with his opinion.
He could have just said, Brian, this knife is not for you.
That's it. That's all Hinderer should have said. I said, dude, man, come on, chill. I'm not designing knives for you. I'm designing knives for people in combat, for firefighters, for police officers. They need something totally different than what you do, man.
If you've ever had to stick your pocket knife into a deadbolt and kick the handle of it to get into a burning house, you know, you wouldn't think that would ever be a necessity. But
well,
for some people it is.
I've used my knife to open a door before, not to get into a burning house, but to get in the door before.
I haven't personally, but I was standing there when he did it.
Yeah.
When I was a volunteer fire, we actually tried to open it with a crowbar and couldn't. And he jammed the knife in right at the deadbolt. Of course, it was sticking out at a 45 and kicked it and opened the door that we could open with a crowbar.
Wow.
Now, I did use a fixed blade to do it. I didn't use a folder. Yeah. But when I was in the service, I always had the SE3. Well, it was a Rat 3 back then. Now it's the SE3. Well, you can still get the Rat 3, but I'm just saying if I was to buy one today, I'd buy the SE. Yeah. Because the upcharge, in my opinion, is worth it to have the SE or over the Ontario. Nothing wrong with the Ontario. That warranty and supporting some local guys is the reason I like the SE3 over the Rat 3. And I don't like the way Ontario treated SE back then. But that's beside the point too. I mean, it's like I said, that's for me is, you know, something that John's ears have been wore out about. He probably don't answer his phone anymore. It has nothing to do with him obsessed with making videos. It's that he don't want to hear me talk about how people don't look at what knives are, what a particular knife is designed for. Like, you know, none of my pocket knives are going to work as good as one of Super Steel Steve's chef knives, because the dude is a fucking chef, and if it passes his muster as a chef, my redneck in the kitchen ass is going to be in love.
Right.
And you know what I use in the kitchen, Dark Gravity? Right now, if I was on my phone, I think I'm going to show you. There's the honey badger is laying on top of my microwave because I hate that piece of shit.
But you can't tell me that you can't tell me that Steve's knife probably would not function better.
Oh, I know it would.
You know, because like I said, if
it's only in there because I don't want it in my presence around my good knives.
But and that's the thing is you you look at kitchen knives as an example. You got paring knives, you got, you know, butcher knives, you got caping knives, you got chef's knives, you got all these different sizes and steak knives, and it's because knives are designed to do different things, and that's what we.
I think that's funny.
That's true right there, Lefty. The Evatac Shadow Ranger is the greatest EDC tactical knife of all time.
Yeah.
I remember him talking about the seatbelt cutter. I remember when SOG first got that principle patented on a knife sheath, to where there was a cutout in the knife sheath where you could use it to cut rope, to cut line, or to cut a seatbelt or something of that nature. Yeah. Supposedly, their little tagline was it was actually designed by some Navy SEAL back in I don't remember, it was in the late 90s or early 2000s. I thought it was the dumbest fucking thing in the world, but so many people have made a fortune off of that damn design now. I still think it's ridiculous.
Have you saw the new collab with Kevin Holland, Winkler Knives, and Case? Kevin Holland and Winkler did the design, made a few customs, and now Case is doing the production. I love it. My only issue is it's nearly the same money as a Winkler.
Well, see, that's the reason I had an issue with the Case Winklers to begin with, is because when, we got and I don't know if he has any, he did at the time, but we got a master case dealer here in town. And I was looking at a couple of Winkler knives.
Is that John?
And,
Is that John, the master case dealer?
No, it's UG White Hardware.
Oh, my bad. I didn't mean to derail you. Go ahead.
Oh, no, it's fine. And I even said something at the time. It was owned by one of the Whites. His name's David. They've since sold it, but I was like, this knife costs the same as one I can get from Winkler out of his own studio. And just out of principle, I would rather have one from Winkler than Case.
Exactly.
Just out of the whole premise of it, I would rather it say Winkler, and that's it.
Yeah.
Not Case, Winkler design.
I think they're $270 is table price, but yeah.
Well, the one I was looking at the time is the same, or was very similar. I don't have a Winkler field knife, but it was a Case version of the Winkler field knife, which is one of their military knives. Are military inspired, or whatever you want to call it, because he did design knives for SEAL Team 6. His knives were carried on the Bin Laden raid.
Right.
Yeah,
you watch any of the stuff that I watch with all these Spec Ops guys, and nearly all of them, when they ask them what knife they carried, it was a Winkler.
Yeah.
But like I said, those guys have a different need and a different purpose, and
well, he's
there's
right
nothing
there
wrong with us wanting that. If you want to look at, if you want to joke about the fact that you're never going to need a knife for that, well, why wear it? If that's never going to happen to you, why wear a seatbelt? Why have health insurance or car insurance? You don't ever know what's going to happen to you.
Well, I
enjoy owning this stuff. And I hope to God, I never have to use it for anything other than opening a package. But I just don't get the making fun of it part.
Well, I don't get the making fun of it part because I like what I like. And it's okay that I like what I like. It's okay that you like what you like, that John likes what he likes. That's something in the community, is we need to embrace each other.
Exactly.
Because John likes little bitty tiny fucking throat slitters. I don't. I mean, I'm like, my hands aren't as big as yours, but I'm like you. I got bigger hands.
He's got a new one coming Sunday. He'll be adding a little tiny one to his collection Sunday. So,
but I'm just saying that everybody likes different things, and that's okay. I will
say this, JuhVon, you did offend me with the fact that you offered to trade for my Bradford. You offered to trade me a big Tucson. Don't you go sit in the corner for about 10 minutes and think about what you just did.
I know. Well, it was in
I'd rather give it to you than you trade me a Tucson for it.
You should have asked him because I think John's got an SC3. You should have asked him for that. They're about the same price.
Yeah, but my SC3 is a S35. It's not hammering. I want to show him that line steel. I think he'll like that in terms of fitting his hand.
Well, see, to me, the SC3 or the Azula are two of the best. And I know you're a collector and more into different designs and different fields, and you're covering the gamut. But I'm about for somebody like me that just might carry one small knife. The Azula and the SE3 are just like great. For
They're not
somebody
too
who's.
big.
I mean, I'm over twice your size, John.
That's true. That's true.
And Shane's
I
taller
can get
than
my
I am.
hands on that Spyderco enough too in K390, unless I can't imagine a scenario where it's not going to be perfect for me. That's literally the only fixed blade that I can really think of that I truly want right now. One, because of the steel, and I am going to get those FRN scales replaced. So,
as somebody who you say you want a knife that you could save the world with, even though you probably don't never need one, but I'm going to tell you, the guys that save the world every day don't carry K390, and I love K390. Don't get mad.
They're carrying 1095.
They carry 1095 and whatever that gibberish bullshit that Winkler uses, and
ADCRD2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They use them regular old Viking steels, I guess you could say.
You can sharpen on a rock.
That's it.
Just ever seen a military sharpening stone? You're pretty much sharpening on a rock.
I've got a buddy of mine. He gave it to me after I got a knife that he used. He was in the 75th Ranger Regiment, and he used a dagger, and ended up messing it up, bending it. He used it to take care of somebody, and I got it fixed for him. A friend of my dad's, when my dad was alive, he's a bladesmith, so he heated the blade, straightened it, rebuilt the leather handle, made a sheath for it, all that kind of stuff. And so the way Corey thanked me is he gave me the Camillus that he was issued and carried on a couple of deployments.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't tell me when he gave it to me that he had used a side grinder as a shortener for it. If you've seen the Camillus in the Becker, K-Bar Becker BK2, it's a 1/4 inch thick slab of steel.
Oh, I know.
Well,
now, I don't know this either. I was recently watching an interview. It may have actually been with Kevin Holland. I think it is. I think it's an interview. Yeah, with Kevin Holland, Jack Carr, and Mr. Winkler, and he was talking about that the knife inspection during buds training. They gave you that. I think it was that big buck. The buck I'm talking about. They had the spots.
Oh, that was back in the day. Yeah, as a buckmaster.
Yeah. And was talking about, they had to show up for muster, and they would inspect their knives, and that thing had to shave hair. Can you imagine making that thing shave hair?
Could you imagine?
Some of the guys in the military had to learn how to sharpen knives because they were more apt to use.
Could you imagine trying to regular sharpen out from a side grinder?
Yeah.
Out of a 1/4 inch slab of hardened steel? It's still not quite right, but I agree, Brandon. Or Brandon American.
Joe at Lancelot had a good point a few minutes ago. I keep forgetting I can't highlight comments, but he said that's why everybody should just carry a slip joint. And he's not wrong, because if you carry a slip joint and it doesn't lock, you're constantly mindful of the fact that it doesn't lock.
Yeah.
And you're less likely to go. But my point is when you apply a lock and you tell me that that's going to lock the blade open, I'm going to depend on that. So that's why it's important. And when I say that, guys, I'm not talking about beating the shit out of a knife. When I test one, I literally hold it like this and tap it on the table a few times like that. I'm not beating the shit out of it. If that's all it takes to close, that is a failure. It's an unsafe knife, in my opinion. Now, if it doesn't bother you, then so be it. Carry it. But I'm not.
Honestly, I've never done it. I have literally never done it. even when I've watched videos and seen people do it with, there was a ZT, and I've actually got the model. I can't remember what the
Do you
model
cut
number
paper
is.
after you sharpen your knife?
Usually, no.
Do you cut
I rub
anything?
my thumb.
You
I
test
usually
it,
rub
see
my.
if it's sharp,
Yeah, I rub my thumb across it.
but you
That's about
tested
it.
it, right?
Most of the time, yeah, I do.
Exactly. That's my, nothing wrong with testing a lot.
But I've never had, any of my quality knives, because the knife that failed on me was a $30 knife.
Yeah.
I've never had a $150 or $200 knife fell on me,
Yeah.
or $100 knife fell on me. Like I said, the only one I've ever had fail with the lock was a $30-ish knife.
Yeah.
The
It
QSP
almost
Penguin.
cost your finger.
Yeah, it's a QSP Penguin. And guess what? I bought 2 more since then.
Right.
So it's not that I hate the knife. It's that if you're going to buy the QSP Penguin, buy the good one. Don't buy the cheap $30 one. Step up, cough up a little extra cash where they actually do some QC on it and get a better version. That's the thing with me is a lot of times when you buy, and I'm not saying they can't make good $30 knives or $40 knives or $50 knives, or that you got to buy super expensive knives, but you got to step up. You get what you pay for most of the time.
Right.
It's just like the whites boots that I'm wearing right now are going to last a whole lot longer than your thorough goods you buy, for half the price. You go buy a new vehicle, a nice new vehicle, it's going to last you longer than one that you buy that's already been ragged out.
Yep.
Typically, now if you get I know somebody's probably going to throw up, well, if you buy a 57 Chevy, it'll last forever. No, them motherfuckers have been rebuilt so many times it ain't even funny.
Yeah, actually, I just shaved all the gray hair off my face. That's the only difference.
If I shaved all the gray hair off, I wouldn't have none.
Well, I still got around the edges of my beard, but like you said, if I cut all that out, I just have a little patch right here.
Yeah.
But yeah. But guys, I can't stay for the whole thing. I just wanted to jump on and do what I always do, that speak my mind, whether y'all want to hear it or not.
No, dude, believe it or not, I was hoping you had some insight, and you did. I knew you'd have something to add. You always do.
Yeah.
And I always buckle in
Yeah,
when
and
you
to
go
sum
live.
all that up, guys, what I'm getting at is, I'm not saying that you shouldn't ever do a pre-order. I'm just saying.
Hold on, let me make you big before you say it. I'm gonna make you, because you are kind of the governor here. So hold on.
No, I'm not. All I'm saying is to know that there are risks involved. Even if you're doing it from somebody that you trust as much as we trust Kevin, he could very well get a shipment of knives in that aren't up to par. And, even though he's willing to do something about it, you're looking at an even longer wait. So just, know that up front. And that was the biggest issue with Leon, was he didn't have the chance to do that because, he had already had you waiting for 16 months. So that's all I wanted to say. There was no, I don't believe there was a good way to handle the situation he was in. There was a much better way to handle the aftermath, but yeah. Sorry, guys. I'll still be in the comments, but I got some more stuff. I mean, I'll be listening and may jump in the comments here and there, but I got some stuff I got to handle. So appreciate y'all letting me on for a little while.
Kill Beast, we said hey.
Yeah, that's right where I'm going. I need to find out what the newest Walmart.
No, I saw that Marine X was going live. I know where you're going.
Oh yeah, that's where I'm going.
Yeah. We'll love you, Shane.
All right, we'll see you guys.
I'll see you soon.
I mean,
bye.
Hey, I'll probably be there Sunday.
Okay, man.
All right.
One thing I want to say about the pre-orders is that's my choice. Nobody let it, what I choose to do, dissuade you from doing what you want to do. It's your money. It's your desires. If you want, XYZ, like Shane said, just weigh it. Like with the two I keep bringing up, Kevin and KC, I know especially both of them are picky as hell. And so I know they're going to send out a quality product regardless of the backlash. And if you're not happy, they're going to do everything humanly possible to make it right. And so as far as those two guys go, I know where they stand. I know the others that I've mentioned, Sharp by Design, he has said he will not do pre-orders again. When he does knives, it will be done by drops. You can go to his, I'm assuming it would still be posted on his Instagram. I can't remember all the details, but he has a post on his Instagram about after this last deal. I don't know how his financials ended up with all of that, but I do remember at one point he was out some insane amount of money on fat carbon fiber with the whole fiasco he had. And so he has made a post about how he's changing his thing, which is really sad because Sharp by Design makes some amazing freaking knives that are impossible to get on the secondary. And I know people love. I think John's got 7 or 8 of them. I know Lefty owned like 10 of each version he's ever made. But like I said, don't let what I say sway you. That's a choice that I make. But you can ask John, and John will tell you right here and now, I am very, very peculiar when it comes to how I deal with knives. And when it comes to anything that I do, when it comes to whether, of course, everybody knows I'm into, old school type clothing, old jeans, things of that nature. I'm very particular on that too. It's just a personal choice that I make on how I collect. But how I collect doesn't have to be how you collect. And
I
it's
think
okay.
that's something that we all, and I think most people are tolerant. I mean, I think to pick fun in a fun way, if the person that's receiving the picking knows you too, is one thing. But I think when I go to some of these Facebook groups or when I find myself over on Reddit reading stuff, it just gets nasty, and I don't think something that we have the luxury of collecting or getting should bring that type of vitriol out. To me, it's just bizarre why people take such a strong opinion.
That's something I've never. I guess there's trolls and everything. I mean, there's trolls in YouTube chats. There's trolls in video games. There's trolls on Facebook and Instagram. I mean, I guess there's just trolls in general. But that's something I experienced in the past, and back when they had forums, and then back when Facebook was fairly new, and you had a lot. We were different knife Facebook groups and things showed up, and it was always you had to have a particular knife, and you had to have this, and you had to have that, and I even experienced that on YouTube in some of the groups. And some of the discords and things of that nature. And so I don't do Discord anymore because a lot of the Discord groups were based off of particular YouTubers, and whatever that YouTuber said was the shit. If you didn't have one, you got made fun of, or if you, talked about, and people would poo poo on your knives. I mean, like you had whatever, the YouTuber says was the king shit. That's what you had. You better be posting them. And it's all that kind of stuff I just don't get.
Yeah, I think Budget Blade Review kind of hits it. I mean, it's those things that some people have elevated to a whole nother level, which to me, I think it's more reminiscent of the person that's picking, right? So it's kind of like the person that's being the troll is it reflects on them more than it does anybody that it's coming after.
Yeah.
I think. But to me, that's why I would never go after anybody for any opinion that they had. You know, if that's their opinion, if you think the world is not a sphere, I'm going to love you just the same. That's your opinion, and something's made you think that. So who am I to say I'm all knowing, even though that's kind of, you
That's
know,
that's an extreme example, but I get it.
extreme example. But at the same time, I don't have a problem with people believing or liking things totally different from anything I would. I find them fascinating in some cases. I can learn from those people.
Well, and the thing is your taste changes.
Absolutely.
And
I mean, I've had all kinds of taste change just in the last 45, 50 days. You know, I've changed my whole outlook on how I EDC items. And I've got a
yeah,
whole other thing that I carry that I never carried before.
when I was a kid, I loved ninja stuff. I had ninja swords and ninja stars and daggers and this, that, and the other. And then in my late teens, I loved historical. And so I bought a lot of medieval, Celtic Viking looking knives and swords and shit like that because that's what I liked at the time. And then in my early 20s, I joined the military, in my late teens, I joined. But in my early 20s, I was introduced to Spyderco and Benchmade and started buying, tactical knives, I guess is what you call them, but that's what I used in my day to day, and that's what everybody in my day to day world carried. And now that I'm older, and I went through I still like those, some of them, and I still like the more fidgety, modern EDC style knives. But I also, maybe it's because I'm getting older, I don't know, nostalgia with my grandfather and my dad and things of that nature, but I love traditionals, and I've always loved traditionals.
Right.
Because I remember and have said this before on here, some of my earliest memories are my grandfather or my father pulling out their, buck or case pocket knife or whatever, when I was a kid and cutting up an apple. One of my fondest memories, and this right here goes back to a part of it. When I was a kid, my grandfather, when he would have time off work, he was a submarine builder. He was a tool and die maker, but he worked for a submarine building company. He would take us to where I'm from is very rural, to where they have fire towers. And we would go to the fire tower, but first we would go by this store and buy big old block cheese. And he'd buy a chunk of cheese and he'd buy a chunk of bologna and crackers. And we would go to this fire tower and he would sit there with his buck pocket knife that me, my brother, and sister got him for Christmas. And he would cut that cheese and bologna up, and we would sit there, eat cheese, bologna, and crackers, and drink Barq's root beer. And 40 years later, I still carry a traditional pocket knife a lot of times. I still love cheese and crackers, and I still drink Barq's root beer.
Yeah, and it's a memory that'll never leave you. It's a memory that is very clear in your memory.
Right, and those are the things that mold our tastes and what we enjoy. I dress like my dad and my grandfather and the other guys that I work with because I'm a blue collar worker. And I have been ever. I mean, you could argue military's blue collar, but I grew up on a farm. And then I was in the military, and then I've done blue collar work ever since. And so that's
that's where your heritage is, and that's that's your authentic self.
Yeah, that's just what I am. And so it's every part of your life. That's what, and if you want to run around in a pink tutu with a green hat, and that's you, that is 100% okay.
Absolutely, and you're welcome here.
And if you like those fucking birthday donut knives, whatever the fuck they are, that's okay. I think you're weird, but that's okay.
Yeah, and we can agree to disagree. That's the whole thing that I think is, why should I feel any way for how someone else chooses to spend their money?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's kind of like, am I the authority on what's cool? Fuck no. You
Well, I
know?
would advise you to avoid strippers and bars. They'll get you in trouble.
Well, I know the bars will. And I never liked the strip clubs because I always think of it like this. I had a real simple analogy. Jacques Cousteau loved to swim with the fish. So if you want to swim with the fish and your whole fantasy is swimming and mingling with the fish, and then all of a sudden you're going to go have a good time at an aquarium where there's glass between you and the fish, I'm not in.
Yeah.
I'm not in at all. I mean, to me, that's just like, why would I subject myself to that?
That's true. I mean, that's the reason. And I'm going to use you as an example because there's a lot of knives I like, but I don't love as far as on a visual sense. And you have a lot of knives that I like them. And you're always wanting to let somebody hold and play with the knives. And there's a lot of them I don't pick up and hold and play with because I don't want to get that, you know, oh, I got to go buy one of those, you know, kind of deal. And that's something that, you know, I just a lot of times don't even look at them, don't even pay attention to what's in the case. I don't know if you noticed that, but there's like when we get together and there's a group of us, you'll have some, you know, like Bama Ninja will be over there pulling all of them out, looking at every one of them. And I'll just kind of look at one or two and just be
well,
like,
see, I'm like Bama Ninja because I've ruled out, and that's why I really hope you go to Atlanta with us this year, just at least for a day, because I've ruled out knives that I would have eventually bought and chased, like the Arius, because it's just not for me. It's not my size. It's a great knife. I appreciate everything that's put into that knife, but it's not a giant knife. You know, out of all those knives, the Oz Roosevelt was the one that I was the most smitten with and still am. But when I went and stood at that table before Blade Show was even open to everybody else and handled them, my brain was not putting the value there. Because the ones I was looking at were 11, 12. They did have some super nice milling, but I'm looking at 2 pieces of titanium and a real nice blade and some hardware.
There are some instances of that where it is, but I think it tends to run more towards the expensive knives.
But that's just my opinion.
Well, no. I'm talking about an expensive knife is easier to walk away from in general because you ain't got enough damn money.
Well, yeah.
But the benefit of a show in that sense to me and being able to handle some of the knives is this something I want to save up for?
Right.
Or do I want to redirect that money to something else? But if I go and handle some $200 knife that John's got and I like the way it feels, then it's not as nowhere near as hard not to spend $200 as it is to not spend $600 or $800.
Right. But it still takes that $200 away from what would make more. I'm grabbing something out of another case I forgot to grab. Keep talking amongst yourself.
Amongst myself?
Yeah, I'm just saying. You can talk. I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Well, see, it's there have been the Arius is one, the Oz Roosevelt is another. The Oz Roosevelt for me is too small and too overpriced for what it is. That's just my personal opinion. I know it's a great knife, and the fact that they're both very small makers. Of course, the Oz Roosevelt's one guy, as far as I know, maybe a couple other family members. I'm just not willing to save up to get one of those. But there's, like I said, most of the knives that appeal to me right now, besides traditionals, is actually quite a few of the Tucson. I mean, they're very affordable knives. It's a lot of them are made by Tucson right now. Some of them are Best Techs and things of that nature. There's a lot of those more affordable knives, and I'm going to be honest, a lot of those knives you get around $100, $150, and it's just my opinion. And like I've said before, maybe it's the level of feeling I have in my hands because I use them and things of that nature, so they're not as sensitive as maybe somebody else's are. But I think you get a lot of knife out of a Tucson when you compare it to some of these other, $300 and $400 knives that a lot of people are getting made by, Riot or We or whoever's making them for them. I think you can get a lot out of in that $100 to $150 price range.
Well, I think that's why I have so many Tucsons, is they've been great values, and they're only, I can count on one hand the ones that I'm not really that in love with. One of them's that Max Tachuk that has the big hole in the blade just because it's got a crazy big hole in the blade.
Yeah.
But that thing, if you look at it, it's as slicey as any knife you could ever want. It's a front flipper too. So the front flipper operates seamlessly. It's full titanium with carbon fiber, and it was $89.
Yeah,
but I bought a value knife last week, this knife right here, because it looked at like the Vox Chillin'. This is the Volsteed Nightshade. And I'm telling you, this is an awesome knife.
See,
it's got D10.
It looks like you cut something off real quick. That blade looks thin as hell.
It's kind of, I call it a banana knife.
I'm just talking about how thin that blade is. It looks like it would cut the hell out of some shit.
No, I mean, it was sub $90 before I put in Lefty 10. And what's funny is I always try to use other people's codes, but I have to go back and look at them. And Lefty's done a great job at droning that into my brain. But if you look at the jimping on this knife, if you look at the G10, which I wasn't a fan of the G10, I would have gotten my Carta, but they were just out by the time I got there. Yeah. But it's I can't remember. I want to say it's 14. 164 CM. But it was $80.
And that's what I was saying is,
154.
To me, 14C, 28M, 154 CM. I mean, I can remember when those were $300 blade steels.
Right.
And so, the fact that you can get them for $100, to me, they're worth every single penny of it.
And Volsteed is a new, I don't know who they're associated with, but they're doing a great job. I mean, the designs that they put out, I don't know the relationship to this and the Vox Chillin', if this is a Jesper Voxnez or not, because I didn't read much about it. I just saw it on White Mountain Knives and grabbed it. But it is a slicey, well-designed, great little sharpening choil. Satin blade you can't really see in my lighting, but the snap of the detent for a liner lock, well, as I fail it.
That's how it always goes.
But I was about to say you can't really fail it.
But that's the only issue with a lot of knives for me right now is I will not buy any more flipper only knives. It has to have a thumb hole or a thumb stud. I
agree with that.
I won't buy just a front flipper only. I won't buy just a tail flipper only. It has to have a thumb hole or a thumb stud.
I've got my jeweler's loop. I should go get it.
because I'm a thumb stud, thumb hole kind of guy. It
And
can be, it cannot have a flipper. I'm sitting here looking, and out of the knives I've got out here, I brought the Berg Blades Iron Wolf, which is a flipper only. And I wish to God he would do another one of this, because it's a beast of a knife, and he would do with thumb studs. That to me would make this perfect, because it's
and
a
they
near
do all
perfect
kinds of stuff with thumb deployment.
Yeah. Well, the only thing is if you look how the blade is to the handle, it would take away from some of the handle, and of course on the lock side, to put thumb studs on it, you'd have to cut this down on both sides. And I don't know, because I love the way, especially open, the way the handle looks and feels, because it's just I love the way this knife handles, or however you want to put it. And so I don't know if I would actually like it with the thumb studs on it, or something of that nature. I've actually thought about getting one of my buddies at work that can operate the mill, and getting him to mill out like a couple of these jimping notches, to where I could go to and drill and tapping me a hole, to where I could go like to Emerson or somewhere like that and get one of their thumb discs, and seeing if I would like that, because I've never really been opposed to thumb discs. Most knives have always just had thumb studs. I mean, there's been a few thumb discs, but not many. And I've wondered if I put that on there, if I would like it.
If you like it more.
Yeah. But actually, the only reason I don't carry this more is it doesn't fit. The titanium pocket clip doesn't fit. I'm trying to get it to where you can see how thin the opening is. The titanium pocket clip doesn't fit over the lip of my work pants.
So that kind of keeps you from, but you love the action of the knife, even though it's flipper only.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the only flipper only knife that I carry at all. And I would carry it more if I could get the pocket clip. And because it's a milled titanium clip, you can't really stretch it out or anything of that nature. Get one, I could probably find somebody who could make me another one that's higher, that I could use, potentially. I don't know. But I would definitely carry this a whole lot more if it had a pocket clip that would fit over my work pants.
There are a few flipper onlys. The most recent that E&G EDC told me about was this little Vox Dapper. And I thought this was the furthest thing from something that I would like. But the action on it and the flipper is designed so, unobtrusively.
Yeah.
And you can't fail it. It's an excellent little knife. And I hate this knife because it's a Blade HQ exclusive, so much so that it came in a Blade HQ box. So, like, if you go to Blade HQ site, you have to search for this. It's a Blade HQ knife.
Yeah. See, I love most of Vox's designs. He's got a couple, but I mean, 90%
and the other two are MBKs, because I love both the turbo and the swayback or slayback.
See, I've said the same thing about the turbo. Of course, the turbo's huge, but
you could definitely get some studs on that.
Yeah, and that's something that I thought about looking into, was getting. But I wonder, because see, you have to have the right geometry with thumb studs.
Well, I don't know if Backpack B's in here, but I think he has done a hole mod or stud mods on this knife.
Okay.
And I think I can tell you that with studs, it would work fine.
See, I did that with either yours or A to Z's one day. I sit there and rubbed right there, and I'm like, thumb stud should work.
Yeah. I mean, I can almost look at that.
Yeah.
That was just off the blade.
Yeah.
And this has got snappy detent, but if I get right in there,
you got to throw some flick with it, but you can get enough meat to get it out.
Yeah, and if I just
maybe
that was close to just gashing myself.
Yeah, you need to quit that before you end up hurt.
Well, it's been so long since I've gotten a cut, and one of my things in my bio is man of many finger cuts, but I'm due.
You're due.
I'm due. But I love the MBKs that are flipper only.
That MBK right there is definitely one that'll cut you.
No, it is slicey.
Hey,
Jeff, I was hoping he was going to come A to Z. He just picked up an old guard warning.
What?
If you can get up in the morning.
What's up, brother?
Well, I was going to say, we'll get up. I don't know about the getting ready.
Where's she wanting to
go? She just said to Decatur. I don't know.
Well, you can roll, buddy.
No. No, it's almost 10 o'clock now. She's talking about going to the scrub store over in Decatur tomorrow. They don't open until like 10 or 11 probably. So she was talking about she's talking about if she could get up and get ready if I would take her. I'm like, well, we'll get up. I don't know if we'll get ready.
Of course you will. I've got to be at my mom's at like 8 o'clock in the morning to help her do some stuff. Because she's an early morning. She'll be up at, I get up early too, but I don't get moving as early as she does. But tomorrow I will.
Oh, well, see, I usually wake up early, then I usually go back to sleep.
That's what happens to me. I get up early, I'll get my game on, and it started to kind of impact me doing office time versus working from home. And I need to get out of that shit. Once I get up, I need to start moving.
Yeah. Well,
I need to go to my resistance bands and work out or something like that. I think that would help.
Oh, I hear you. I ain't going to do that. It's too cold to exercise is too.
No, the resistance band I've got right there in my living room. I just hooked them to the bottom of the doors. Those are just the bands.
Yeah, but that's still too exhausting.
Oh, it's your blood flowing, man.
Oh, I don't have a problem waking up. Oh, I usually will wake up and be all like, what am I fixing to do? And, and then I'm like, no, it's too damn cold. And I just go and get comfortable. And next thing you know, I'm back asleep. That's the
beautiful thing about weekends. But this week it was hardcore with all the rain. I mean, I did too much working from home because of the weather.
Well, see, with me, if I have to sit outside, because if I go inside and sit in a recliner or I might as well go get in the bed. Because if I sit inside and I'm going to fall asleep, that's not a question. I will. And so that's why I'm always sitting outside on the back porch, even when it's 20 degrees or 10 degrees. I'm sitting outside.
It keeps you engaged. It keeps you engaged to where you're doing something.
Well, it keeps me from just sleeping all the time because I don't know if I get comfortable like that, I'm gone.
I agree with Dean.
Well, see, I can't do that, so
I know.
At least not for probably 10 or probably 15 more years. Legalized or not, don't matter where I work at.
Yeah, you're around some life altering equipment.
Life-ending equipment.
Yeah. I tried to say altering just because I don't want to think about you getting sucked into anything.
Oh, we had a guy he lost his job. Of course, he claims it was because he, they, and I could take my jacket off and show you. I got shaved the other day because they do hair tests at my work.
Yeah,
And
that's crazy.
he, well, he says that because they shaved under here on him, and he said that he had used some beard oil, some CBD beard oil. They's like, well, we don't give a shit. You're still fired. But everybody at work, and I didn't know his wife. I knew him really well, but I didn't know his wife was a big, like huge smoker. And apparently he broke down and started smoking with her.
Oh,
and
man.
So, yeah, he lost after 10 years, 9 years, something like that, lost his job.
Well, if you're in a place that, again, you know how I feel about it. I'm convinced because I started the first normal at Auburn University, National Organization to Reform Marijuana Laws, because I've always been a big proponent, and that's back when I drank. So I've done both, and I know that, and you and I have argued about this in good fun, but I do not think it is a muscle, what do you call it? Muscle inhibitor, but for some people it is. Everybody's body's different. So
exactly. That's the key thing with it. Is my only issue with marijuana, and this is familial, is why I have an issue with it, is young people, teenagers shouldn't do it.
Right.
It causes a lot of developmental issues.
God, it was fun.
Not for everyone, but for enough people that teenagers should just not do it. Now, am I going to go through and start chopping off teenagers' heads? No.
No, but don't you think other things would just derail those teenagers?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm saying that I'm just saying it's not a good idea. I'm not, I understand. I get it. And it's solely because I watched, a lot of people, have negative consequences as a result of it, mentally wise.
Yeah, yeah.
Development, emotional development, intellectual development, and things of that nature. And that's been proven for teenagers. Now, for adults, when you get, you start getting into your 20s, you get past, I'm talking about the fucking 12, 13, and 14-year-olds that are running around smoking a quarter bag a day. Because the shit they smoke now ain't the same as the shit that we had when I was 13 years old. You run the risk, and I'm not saying it'll hurt everybody. A guy that I grew up with that was really good friends with, I mean, he was one of them that smoked a quarter bag a day. And he's got 2 PhDs from Brown University, and is some crazy ass theoretical physicist working on string theory now, so there's some people it doesn't, but then, there's some people like my brother that it does.
Yeah.
And he's my age, most people think we're twins, but he's a year and a half younger than me. And, the struggles and the issues and things of that nature because of when he started smoking so much, it hurt him in the long run.
In the developmental stage.
Yeah, because he started when he was like 12. It just, that's how that works a lot of times. Did he
Well,
just
that's
go
just
away?
unfortunate.
Well, and to me, it's not, my point is if I was talking to a teenager, I would say it's not worth the risk. But then again, neither is drinking, because I've got a lot of dead friends from alcohol.
I've got a lot of dead friends from alcohol when they were teenagers.
So I've got dead friends from prescription drugs. So, and even as teenagers and as an adult. So all of it has consequences. Everything we choose to do can have consequences. And I would love to say that everybody is responsible when they do it, but they're not. That's just the truth of it. He probably does microdose shrooms, Troy.
Hey, microdosing is been proven. I don't know if proven's the right word. It has been proven to get rid of a lot of psychological problems if people face them with the right therapy.
My buddy Chris, which is who I'm talking about, that I grew up with, the reason he said, and he would tell you that he, even today, that he does not advocate people when he started smoking weed to smoke weed. The reason he did, and I get it, is he did it to slow his mind down. He had enough brain cells. Well, he had enough brain cells to spare that it didn't hurt him like it did my brother. My brother was just an average guy with whatever IQ, and him starting smoking weed at, 11 or 12 or whatever it was. I know it was at least 12 because I used to have to deal with him being on probation for getting caught for possession when he's like, I hadn't even turned 13 years old when he got his first possession charge. With Chris, I mean, I don't know what his IQ was, but he could have graduated when he was like 11, 10 years old. He chose to stay in school because he had friends. But he was one of those kids that probably elementary school, they were offering him to go to college. But he had made friends with a bunch of us, and so he stayed in school with us, even though he didn't have to. He graduated, with us, but he already had 1 or 2 degrees from University of Alabama. I don't remember how many he had, but I know he had at least 1 degree by the time he graduated high school, even though he was just getting his high school diploma as far as walking across the stage.
Right.
And then he was immediately, we graduated in May and he started at Brown, the 1st of June and was working on, and I know he had 1 PhD by the time, graduated. Well, I went off in the military, but he had his first PhD by the time he was 20.
Because he's just that smart.
Right.
And he works hard, but.
Right, he does. But, like I said, there's some folks that can do things of that nature and it not affect them. And then there's some that don't. For me, back when I used to drink, because when I got out of the service, I had PTSD and I drank all the time. I had negative consequences because I drank. And so I don't drink anymore. Besides, I'm a diabetic and can't. I chose to stop even before I become a diabetic because every time I drank, bad shit happened because it just made the PTSD worse. So I can't drink because I show my ass and do stupid shit and hurt people. And that's because those demons I'm trying to cover up come out. I just don't remember them being out running around fucking shit up.
Right.
And that's just, but, some people can drink my wife, of course, she stopped drinking because I stopped drinking and she never had an issue with it. She could drink, and she still does at family get-togethers or this, that, or the other. But everybody's different. And when it comes to drugs and alcohol or knives or guns, we just need to always stop and take a look at what we're doing and whether it's worth it or not. Because before you buy a $300 knife, you need to think about it. You don't need to be, and see, that's me with smoking cigarettes. If I stop smoking cigarettes, I'd probably die.
We need to get you on the Salt Nick.
Oh, I did that for a while and it didn't work. I'd sit there and puff on that and puff on a cigarette.
But have you tried the Salt Nick, the new? It's not just regular nicotine. They call it Salt Nick because it gets in your system quicker, like real nicotine. That's why this little thing. I used to have the big thing that would make clouds. I still have like 20 of them. But these small devices, use a different kind of nicotine that comes in a small bottle, and you can buy it in 30 milligrams or 55 milligrams. And if you get the 55 milligrams and put it in one of these small delivery units, dude, you'll get all the nicotine you need. And you can step down to 30, because I still use 30. I haven't smoked a cigarette since my daughter was 2 years old. She's 23 now.
Yeah.
I like nicotine.
Let's say my mom, she smoked. You got to think when she was born, so she smoked since she was a little girl, I'm sure. I've been smoking. I started smoking when I was 6. I started smoking fully
You
on
little
my
deviant
own.
bastard.
Well,
I started drinking when I was 6, so I can't say anything.
What it was when I was a little kid, I grew up in the late 70s, early 80s. And so everybody still smoked. And of course, I grew up with the heavy metal and this, that, and the other. And there were older kids. I grew up in a neighborhood where there were other kids. It's not like where the fuck I live now, in the middle of a neighborhood, and everybody's old because nobody can afford a house anymore.
You were smoking cigarettes before you could ride a bike. You were on your big wheel with the lucky hanging out of your mouth.
No, I was riding a bike already, but there were older kids in the neighborhood, and they were all into Motley. Well, this was before Motley Crue and Metallica, but it was, they were into heavy metal music, and because all of that was starting to come up and all that kind of stuff, and they all smoked and they thought it was cool, and I thought they were cool, so because they let me ride motorcycles with them. I guess you could say I was a little mental when I was a child. And I'd ride motorcycles with them and go-karts and all that kind of stuff, and didn't give a shit. I'd get on a 50cc Honda, and I only had one speed, and that was full speed. That's the way I ran. I was trying to hit mock Jesus right from the get-go, and they just thought I was cool as shit and crazy, and they smoked, so I'd take their cigarettes and smoke them too.
I've got an extra one of these that's got I've got 3 of them, but I've got an extra one that you can put your own cartridge on, that you can put your own flavor, you can find your own gig. And I think, not that I'm anti-cigarettes, because I think everybody should be able to do whatever they want to, but you will love the nicotine delivery that this gives you if there's anything that you don't like about smoking. If you're ever trying, don't give up on vaping, because it's evolved just like knives have. Yeah. And this nicotine salt thing is, for me, it's the way.
For me, and I know this sounds strange and stupid, and I'll tell you it's clearly mentally stupid, is I love everything about smoking. My mind is warped. I know it's not good for me. I know that all this shit, congestion, coughing, all that is exacerbated by it. I know part of the reason I've been sick for 2 weeks instead of 2 days like I should be is just smoking made it worse. It's like I said, I know it's all mental too. It's what else would I do with myself? Kind of deal.
Right.
Because I've done it literally for 40 years. I'm 46 years old, and I've literally been smoking for 40 years.
What's interesting, when I quit, vape wasn't out yet, and I was doing the Nicorette lozenges.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, being a psychology guy, that the hardest thing was going to be going to bars and not having the cigarette, right?
Yeah.
But I could go to bars, and as long as I had Nicorette, I was fine. Like 4 or 5 years, I had a cigarette relapse that was about 4 or 5 years into my being quit. We were at a bar in Birmingham, and I was a drinker, guys. I mean, a hardcore drinker, and got pretty shit-faced, and I didn't realize that I had on a windbreaker and I put my Nicorette in the windbreaker pocket. So I'm checking my pockets except for the windbreaker, and I don't have any Nicorette. And I'm sitting there pounding Crown and Cokes. And the dude beside me, I'll never forget, had those blue American Spirits. And he got up and went to the bathroom. And I reached over and grabbed one of those son of a bitches and lit it with his lighter. And he comes back and he's like, "Hey, are you smoking one of my cigarettes?" I was like, "I goddamn sure I am." I said, "Look, this is the first cigarette I smoked in 5 years. I can't find my Nicorette, and it caused me to relapse." He was like, "I'm sorry, dude." I was like, "I appreciate the cigarette." And I smoked cigarettes for probably steady from that moment on for 2.5 years. Went back to Nicorette. Could never get off the Nicorette. And then when the vape game started, I kicked the Nicorette, and I went back from, these are old, the cartridges that used to look like little submarines. You know, they were just a really weak way of delivering nicotine. But the Nick Salt's where it's at. And this is a lost vape, Chaz. But I've got an extra one of these, Dark Gravity, if you ever want to give it a try. Gonna right. It's funny that you say that. I used to eat a Hinderer every day.
I'm with Gonna Right. I spent $100 on cigarettes today, and before the month, every month I buy $100 a week. Of course, my wife smokes too, so it's not all mine. But I think it. In my head, it's still a fabric of who I am. It's still part of who I am, and I haven't let that go, or it hasn't given me the negative consequences that I need to walk away. Like when I drank, you know, bad shit happened, and so I quit drinking. You know,
you're not getting consequences,
right? I'm not going to quit until something bad happens. It's you know, when it comes to feeding my collector addiction, I guess is a way to put it, because I collect more than just knives. You know, when it comes to feeding my collector addiction, it's based off of what I'm able to do. You know, that's, I'm very particular, you know, I'm peculiar about it. I'm very picky with what I spend the money on, but I'm always collecting. I mean, my wife makes fun of me because if like at periods of time when I haven't had money, I will almost literally collect trash, not garbage, like garbage from, you know, that you would throw away. But I mean, stuff that technically is trash, you know, I mean, it has no fucking value. It has no worth other than it's shiny. I like things that are shiny. That's why I say I'm a crow. Is because I will just bring random shit home because I have to collect something. And that's part of that, you know, I'm I guess an addict when it comes to smoking and collecting shit. Because if I quit collecting knives, I would start collecting baseball cards again. Or if I didn't do that, I would go back to comics again.
Well, that's why I think there's so much addiction in the knife community. And I'm an addict and have been an addict. Luckily, I'm not a practicing addict, but I've been an addict for over 40 years of my life. And I bought guitar effects with the same type of addictive personality that I bought drugs with. And then when I got shifted to knives, I quit buying guitar effects, and all I do is focus on knives. So I think the dopamine, some of the similar characteristics to being a collector are present. I mean, I think it's more healthy for me. I know it is, because again, I wouldn't still be here had I not quit with all the fentanyl that's out there now. And I mean, I could have easily been Tom Petty or Prince because they didn't know, right? But well, it's a healthier addiction. But I know I'm smart enough to know that I don't need the knives that I've got, right? I'm blessed that I can get the knives that I've got, but after 3 or 4 knives, you've got pretty much, if you buy them right, you've got every cutting task covered.
Well, one of the things with collecting, at least for me, is my collecting has never been at a high speed like other stuff can get. Because like when you're drinking, you or doing other stuff, I mean, it can be it can be very consuming very quickly. But like I won't say I've turned off buying knives. Knives have turned off me buying them right now because that's something that I've always been able to be particular about. And that's why I like knives and collecting, legit things. Is I don't have to go. I'm very good about saving up and focusing and not buying the shiny things. It's when times are rough that I want to go and just collect all the shit that I can get my hands on. But like right now, I haven't bought a knife since late November, early December. So it's been about 3 months. Probably about 3 months since I bought anything. And it's mostly because nobody's made anything that I feel like I absolutely need. I know what I have in my head that I will buy immediately as soon as I see it. And one is made available, which I can tell you, well, I won't say that because I won't overpay for it, which is I want a TC Barlow from Great Eastern Cutlery. But I'm not willing to pay the premium that they want on eBay or in a lot of the groups and things of that nature because I want a stag handle one. I don't want, I mean, I'd like to have a micarta one too, but my mental focus is on having the money available because I know even with GEC, it's still going to be expensive. But that's what I have my mental focus on. And for some reason, it's been on that for a few months now. Actually, you are partly who quenched that by when you got this, because I'd been focused on this for about 7 or 8 months. And then I got this, and then it's like that's what my focus turned to was having the funds available for single blade. I won't buy a double blade, single blade GEC TC Barlow, and with a stag handle.
Where do you find that?
You just have, well, you can find them on eBay. I haven't looked in a while, and I can't remember off the top of my head the prices, but they're quite substantial on eBay.
Do they still make them though? Like, does GEC still have occasional drops?
I haven't seen, because stag is so scarce. I haven't seen them drop a stag TC Barlow.
True.
Since I got focused on it. I'm not saying they haven't. If they have, I've missed it. But I'm hoping they do.
I'm getting her a bone. Keep talking. Here, girl.
I'm hoping that they do a stag, and I know they'll do another TC Barlow drop. Whether they do a stag handle, I don't know. I'm just saying that's what my mind is focused on. Actually, the knife, another knife that I was focused on that I've got in there, I got inside, and I can't remember the number off the top of my head, is a GEC, and it was a lockback, single-bladed lockback. And I was able to get one of those from a guy in one of the knife swaps on, or he may have just posted it on his, I don't remember if it was in one of the knife swap things on Instagram or if he just posted it on his feed, on Instagram. But I was able to get one from a guy on Instagram. And actually, he's been in these chats before. because he messaged me after one of our lives. I can't remember his name now for nothing. Who I got it from? I have to go look at my Instagram now because I feel bad. But because I'd said something about, I guess, because I didn't do the first live with you. I don't think it was the second one. It was the second one is when I started doing them. But I said something about it either in the second or third live that you did, and he said he was glad to hear that was, but I believe it's the 84 or it's the 14. I think it's the 84, the GEC 84. It's a single blade lockback. Because I think I have a GEC 14 also. But I'm just, I'm not a pocket metal when it comes to GEC. I can't tell you all the numbers, all the models, all the handles, and I mean,
he's a great resource.
Oh yeah. He's been into GEC for a whole lot longer than I have. I mean, I've always wanted, and looked at GECs, and it's the same thing. I mean, Case is like we talked about. I guess it was last week or the week before. The Case still makes a lot of knives I like. I just feel that Case knives are something you have to buy in person now. Unfortunately, you can't buy them over the internet because you can't rely on their quality control.
Because the quality control is all over the board.
Yeah, and so I think that's unfortunate. But and I'm not a.
Take care, hey man.
I do like. I'm fine with the stainless steel that Case uses because for what I use that kind of knife for, I don't need any kind of super steel. They're surgical stainless steel, whatever it is, 420 stainless steel probably is fine for day-to-day use for what I'm going to use a Case knife for. I just wish that they would, I wouldn't mind paying closer to the GE, $10 or $20 or $30 a knife more for them to up their quality and quit using glued shields and go back to using pin shields. Because that's the only issue that I know is really hard to defend against with Case knives. I've had some buddies, and I've heard about other instances where the shield on the side, on the handle,
right,
the Case shield will come off, and it's just glued on. And I'm like, well, that sucks,
Yeah, that would suck.
Because it's, I guess you could glue it back on, but it's just, how much money are you really saving by not pinning the shield on? You got 5 other brass pins shoved in it. What's one more? You know?
And that's part of I would think a part of the knife that she should put priority on, just like anything else, because it's your brand. Well,
and this little Benchmade I've got right here from the 90s. These, if I can figure out the right angle to turn this at, that right there at the end of my finger, that is where it used to have a Benchmade butterfly shield on both sides, but it fell out, and only God knows where they're at now because they were just glued in. And this is from the 90s. Okay, well, this is 23, 4, 5 years old. Cases went backwards instead of moving forward. Now, I don't think Benchmade makes a knife where the shield will fall out.
Right.
But Case went the other way around. I've got Case knives from the 70s and the 80s that the shield will never fall out because it's pinned in. They went backwards and cut the pin off and started just using glue, so now the shield falls out. And that, to me, is pitiful.
Yeah, that's not looking out for the customer. That's looking out for trying to find some savings somewhere along the line.
And I guess when you make, because I'm sure Case is on the level of Benchmade as far as volume goes, because, how many, you can buy, I was at the pharmacy the other day, and they sell freaking case knives at the pharmacy.
Really?
So, I mean, yeah. I mean, they sell case knives everywhere. So I guess when you are like Benchmade making 30, 40, 50,000 knives a month, you probably, those little pins probably do add up to quite a chunk of change at the end of the year, but not when it stops people like me from buying your knives.
Yeah, and a lot of other people who would buy the knives. I mean, because it can't be saving them. What could it realistically be saving them? A quarter?
Oh, I
Maybe.
doubt it'd be that much per knife.
Yeah, I was thinking on the high end.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, if it saved them $1 a knife, they're still losing a $75 sale or whatever, because I like the more exotic handles. If the case knives that I really like, I've got all the jigged bone and all kind of different rainbow of colors. So now I'm at a point where why would I go buy another that I've already got? So now I need the mammoth tooth or the mammoth ivory or the stag handles. And of course, with Case won't sell stag anymore or won't buy stag anymore. They only use the stag they have on hand. So the stag that they have on hand, only what they've got left only fits on like the peanut, uh, and a couple of the other super small models, like the really small. It's like, I think it's a trapper, that's mini trapper or something like that. But they don't offer stag on their larger handled knives anymore, because there was, and as far as I know, there still is. I think GEC doesn't use sandbar stag, but Case uses sandbar stag, and sandbar is an Indian stag.
Right.
And because there was a huge poaching problem for sandbar stag, and it probably still is in India, where they pretty much driven the deer to extinction or near extinction that particular antler comes from. And so Case quit buying it. And as like I said, as far as I know, I'm not 100% sure. I know at one time when all that was going on, that the federal government was putting that sandbar stag, and so was India, on the endangered species list, and so you couldn't import it anymore in the United States.
I didn't know Case did a lot. That just shows how out of it I am. I didn't know Case did legit knives. So, I mean, because I'm so detached from slip joints. I didn't know they
Well,
still did like high end Case knives.
that I don't think they do a lot of them. Like they'll do one or two a year as far as uh, models go. Like they'll offer, uh, and a lot of times it's stuff that's your mainstays for them, which is like the Trapper, or a Barlow or something of that nature. The Stockman, knives they're never going to the vault, because they do a vault rotation like some companies do, where they'll make a knife for a year and then won't offer it again for 10, like the Sunfish or the Elephant Toe or the Canoe. They might do something like that for a year and then not offer it for like 10 more. But they'll usually do, like one model and, something extra that year, or sometimes they'll do a little set, and something extra that year. And a lot of times the only time you'll see them is and the only reason I knew that they did it and got to see them is that UG White's, that's a master case dealer, because they're not going to be at a regular knife place that's not a master case dealer, because they're the only ones who get access to that. And so you probably have to go to either UG White's or Smoky Mountain Knife Works would be the two places that I could think of that would be close by that you could find those kind of case knives for me and you. and I don't know if they've got any current offerings right now or not. I still haven't been. I keep saying I'm going to go to UG White's to see what they've got, because I haven't even been up there and looked in, I guess, a year or so now, something like that. Maybe even 2 years. I can't remember. But I need to go up there and look and see if I can spend some money. Support a local business.
I'm about to share the screen. And this is what we're going to use for our giveaway. Whoops.
Good night, hey man. That's probably been up there forever, and you probably done long gone.
He's been long gone. I didn't remove it because I'm such a good multitasker, especially when you give me something that is slower than shit.
Well, now I did try to use my laptop tonight.
Tell me if y'all can see that.
But I didn't think about it until it's too late, and so it wasn't charged, and I don't have. Only God knows where the charger's at. It's probably in my 12-year-old's room somewhere.
It's 35 VN copper Boker Lancer. Put case, #case in the chat.
Boker's, you bringing out that Boker? Boker's making some really nice slip joints too right now.
Oh, I know. The reason I'm letting this one go is I don't carry it very much, but it's a nice knife, and it doesn't have access for me to reverse flick it because it's more of a thumb roller.
Yeah.
But throw case in there, guys, while we chat, and we'll give this away to one of you guys, gals.
Boker's tree brand is historically always been considered a good traditional style pocket knife.
This little Boker BFF is from the tree brand, and it's a fantastic little knife. It's pinned. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah. Oh, I love that little knife. That's one that does definitely. Even though I'm not huge into fixed blades, that one has been one that's I've been ignoring you with. Even though I joke on it and say that's your old hickory paring knife, it's an amazingly great design. I mean, it's a perfect design for a general utility. See, I like the Boker better, but that's because I'm not a big Warncliffe, guy.
Well, it's got the same kind of little pocket dropper sheath. It's not nearly the quality of the Boker. It's more of a taco sheath.
I think you're more into the pocket dropping.
I like pocket dropping because that's usually where I carry it. But today, I've got my little chickadee on my belt, and I didn't pocket drop because I'm in khakis and I was at Tuscaloosa all day.
Oh, lovely.
Playing grown up.
Yeah, you have to drive way too much.
I do, and I've been bad about this year. I started off slow. I need to be driving more. Oh, just so you guys know, Mike Imler is going live with Elliot Williamson of Fair and Forged Knives. So I won't have my feelings hurt if y'all leave me to go over there. Satisfaction. Maddie goes live in a little while.
I love Fair and Forge's designs, but not big fans of them as people.
They seem pretty funny. I mean, I don't know their history, but I mean, when I've seen them on live, they seem to have a good sense of humor.
They don't question their authority.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They are the experts. You are the plebeians.
I did not know that.
Yeah, they go ask Steve Kalari about him. Now, he may have changed his attitude about them. They may have kissed and made up. I don't know, but yeah, I'm the type that when you start talking about and trying to treat the knife community as stupid, I got a problem with that.
Yeah, I didn't know that about him, but I think I got Elmer does that.
Right. But they're amazing knife designers. And in the past, when they've made knives, I don't know if they still actually make them themselves at all. They've made some great knives. But and I know said Stevie is a huge Ferrum Forge design lover, and he's got a great collection of them. But I mean, this is something. Don't take what I'm saying with a grain of salt, because
Gonna Ride just came across my notification, brother. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you, Dark Gravity.
Oh, it's all right. From what I understand, there are, and I know this to be true from just experience with different forms of artists. Artists tend to be very eccentric, and Ferrum Forge are artists, so take it with a grain of salt. Most of them, a lot of them are. And that's just the way art is. I mean, that argument could be made, and I'll pick on Super Steel Steve because he can take it. He's very strong in the way he feels and his opinions, because most artists are, and a chef is an artist. They're great cooks, but they're also artists. I mean, that's
Urban Woodsman put case #case in the chat because I'm getting ready to pull for it.
So don't let
away a poker.
Don't let somebody that's rubbed me the wrong way rub you the wrong way, because the Ferrum Forge knives are amazing knives. The design of them is amazing. Some of them are just way too tiny, in my opinion, but most of them are great. One of my coworkers got one for his anniversary, and he showed it to me beginning of the week, I think is when it was, and that thing was not, I don't remember the model. It's one of their newer models, but that thing was amazingly nice. I mean, the design, the ergonomics, they're great knife designers.
You know what I just learned?
What?
You can front flip this Boker Lancer.
Yeah, I see the.
So it locks up with a front flip. All right, I'm keeping it. I'm just kidding. All right, guys, I'm going to give it about 1 more minute before I draw for the copper S35 VM Lancer that I've just learned will front flip, which is my least favorite opening method of deployment. I think front flipping sucks. But this little knife has a good little sharpening choil. It's super sharp. It hadn't cut me yet, but if I had some paper close to me, the only thing I've got is my Dolica certificate behind me, and I'm not cutting it. All right, guys, let's see who wins. And what I did is I put the email address up here, kniveslive2021@gmail.com, or you can contact me on Instagram. Here we go. Who's it going to be? Chicago 23. That's who it's going to be. Congratulations, brother. Ian, I hope you got in. I hope you guys got in before I scrolled it, because I wasn't looking over here. Chicago 23, the man, the myth, the legend.
Congratulations, Chicago.
Congratulations, brother. Just email me. I'm going to go ahead and put this. Hold on 1 second. I will find its box. or do my best. I'll put it in the pouch if I can't find its box, but I should have its box. And if you will email me or Instagram me your address, brother, I will make sure it goes out to you. Should go out this next week. Let me grab my pen. Hold on. My ADHD brain's going nuts. Chicago 2030. Awesome.
Well, I hope I don't run everybody off, but I'd messaged you earlier. Somebody had asked me to go off knife topic for a minute. And you may have read the text message I sent you. You may not have.
No, I haven't read any text messages.
Where I messaged you, that's when you sent me the StreamYard. I sent you a text message just before you sent me the StreamYard this morning.
Oh.
Where somebody was asking me about denim. And they were messaging me on Instagram. And you know how I hate typing shit. And so I told them I would talk about it for a minute on the live tonight. I don't even know if they're in here. I won't say who they are because I don't know if they want me to or not. So, but they were asking me about the raw denim and the Japanese denim. And the only thing, if anybody is interested in traditional clothing, and I'm not talking about just the raw denim, you know, the Ironheart or Brave Star or Naked and Famous or any of them. I'm talking about a lot of your traditional clothing manufacturers, because there's a lot of them that American-made companies that like Detroit Denim, what is it, AANC or something like that, or AACC, American Association of Clothing Companies or something. But anyway, there's quite a few American, Roundhouse is another one, American-made clothing manufacturers. They use true sizing, not vanity sizing. And a lot of times where people will mess up is they will order what's actually a vanity size. They'll go buy their Levi's, and their Levi's will say, oh, you wear a 30, a 32, a 34, a 36. And they'll go and they'll order that size, especially from the Japanese companies, and the pants won't fit. And the Japanese, most of your traditional American manufacturers use true sizing. They're going to, if it says it's a 32, it's going to be a 32-inch diameter.
So you'd want to measure your waist?
No, what you do is you find a pair of pants that actually fit you and fit you comfortably, that are 100% cotton. Lay them out flat on a table and measure across the waist and measure the actual distance from one edge to the other. And usually, like for me, I wear a 36 in most pants. But in traditional pants, you know, with American-made, you know, companies and Japanese companies, I wear a 38. Because if you go like you wear, let's say you wear a 30 in Levi's, which I know you probably wear a 28 in Levi's, you actually would wear a 30 in Japanese.
So you're saying if I laid my little 28 Levi's out and measured them, they're probably 30 inches.
Yep. It'll probably say 15. You do that times 2.
Okay, I got you.
You do, because what you do is you take that measurement, because they're relatively flat.
Yeah.
And so you just double it. And that'll tell you what size you're going to order. And most of the time you are, because of vanity sizing, they give you a tag size, one size smaller than what you actually are buying. Now with your stretch fabrics, it's different. Well, if you wear a 30 and they fall off, then you probably should be wearing a 28 in vanity size, and you'll probably wear a 30 in the Japanese version.
I order on Amazon, and I will tell y'all this. My influencer buddy, Kevin, Lefty EDC, was talking about 511 pants one day, and I went to their website, and I'll be goddamned if they don't carry 28-inch 30 pants. So I've got a bunch of 511s. I can get my Azad khakis that I'm wearing today on Amazon in 28-30, so I don't have to go to the Husky Boys yet.
But
I have shopped in the boys section when I used to just go to department stores.
But
that sucked.
All of those companies, if it's not the company itself, the retailers that carry the traditional American brands, the ones that are they're not traditional American brands, because Levi's, Wrangler, and Lee, Carhartt, and things of that nature are your traditional American brands. But they're the ones who use vanity sizing. If you go back to the ones who are trying to go back to what those companies used to be, they use that sizing, and they'll have a fit chart, because the other thing that matters is your rise. Because if you have a low rise pants, and I'll just use John again as an example because his sounds better than mine. If he got a low rise pants that went across his hips, well, his hips don't give. So he may actually wear a bigger size in his hips than he does in his waist. If you get a high rise pants for me, where my stomach's bigger than my waist, my hips, then I might have to go up even further. If I got a high rise pants in those, I might have to get a 40 instead of a 38 because it's a high rise.
Know. And I'm sure the websites tell you how to order them, don't they?
They give you the measurements. You've got to know what's going to fit you. And so that's where you take, like in my case, when I decided to buy my first pair of old school, traditionally made blue jeans, my favorite pants are Levi's 501s. They're 100% cotton, because I've wore that style forever. I just wasn't buying the old school traditional. Like the pants I have on now are made by the same company that made denim for Levi's for 100 years. Now that company's gone out of business, but it's Cone Mills out of North Carolina. They went out of business, and Vidalia Mills in Louisiana bought all their looms. So you can still get the same stuff. It's just made through Vidalia, Louisiana, instead of North Carolina. But when I bought my first pair, I took the Levi's 501s, 100% cotton. You don't want to do it with stretch, because stretch is different.
Right.
Because stretch will stretch. You can get a smaller size than what you really are there. You measure it, and then you might actually be bigger because that material will stretch.
Right.
But you lay it out flat. You measure the rise. Follow the directions on how to measure your rise. Follow the direction on how to measure your waist, and then you are able to compare that. Now, if you are somebody with giant legs because you used to do squats in the military or in the gym, or a power lifter or something, then you need to measure those kind of things too if you have some abnormality. But most people know they wear regular fit jeans or skinny fit jeans, or wide leg jeans, that kind of stuff. So they know they got big thighs or little thighs or whatever.
Right.
So you want to look at those things too. But the one that gets most people is they don't look at the rise and the waist. And then they don't look at the cut too, because most of them will say slim, tapered. And if you're like me, you can't wear a slim tapered. You got to be built like John to wear a slim taper. John doesn't need to be going buying the one that's called a smokestack.
Right.
There's one company that's got called Left Field. It's based out of New York, and they use the Vidalia Mills denim, they sell some that are called smokestacks. Well, those are huge leg jeans. You know, John could probably stand in one leg.
Right. Even if they fit me, they look like they were huge.
Yeah, and so you know, you just look at those things, but they do offer all those companies. All you know, if you start looking at raw denim or selvage denim, all of the companies, whether it's the $60 company or the $300 company or the $400 company, they all offer sizing charts. Just take the time and follow them. Same thing for the shirts, the jackets, the pants.
The bottom
You
line
know,
is, before you guys buy really nice clothes, reach out to Dark Gravity on Instagram, and he'll make sure that you're getting what you want to get.
and you can, and I will answer. I'm not gonna ignore. You know, that's the guy that messaged me earlier. You know, today. I may not answer
Right,
immediately because
Chicago.
if I'm at work, I can't. You know, but because most of the time I can't hear my phone, even if it is ringing at work. But you know, I'll answer anybody's questions. I'll answer back. I have no problem with that.
And that's what a community's for, guys, because we all
Yeah,
don't know everything, but we all know somebody who does. So, you know,
yeah,
let's lean on each other to get good information. But what I'm going to do is let Dark Gravity say bye before I say bye, because Maddie and said faction go live in about 20 minutes, and I want to give you all time to get over there and get settled. What do you got, Dark Gravity?
you just kind of nailed it on the head. Is when it comes to anything, because I'm gonna ask somebody if I don't know, ask.
Absolutely.
And I have no problem answering anybody's question about anything to the best of my knowledge. And if I don't know, I'll help you try to figure it out.
And I would even encourage people who don't use social media, because I get it, because you don't want to get consumed with it. But set up an Instagram account for a cat or somebody that, you know, is totally anonymous, so that if you ever want to reach out and, you know, contact Jared, contact Dark Gravity, reach out to me for anything. That's just a great way to get us. I do check email, but not as quickly.
My Instagram is solely for my hobby or hobbies. There is no my wife doesn't even follow me. None of my children follow me. None of my family follows me. None of my friends follow. Well, I got knife friends that follow me, but you know, but my Instagram is nowhere on there is my name connected. My phone number is not visible. It's connected. My email is connected but not visible. Because it is solely for knife communication and knife related material. I don't do anything other than that on Instagram, or, you know, well, denim, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's open. If you don't have one, because I hate social media other than for what I use it for. All the drama, all the bullshit, all the, you know, I don't want it for that. And that's when I got back into it. Honestly, I got Instagram strictly for the giveaways. And you can ask Mr. Letterman because he tags me all the time in giveaways. That's why I got back on Instagram, is because of giveaways. But yeah, you don't have to connect it to your personal life if you don't want your personal life involved, because I don't.
No, just use it to hang out with.
And it's
absolutely,
a great course.
You can put any link you want to. Are you guys all mods? You should be.
It's a great source of information, and it's the easiest way to contact me, because I don't have a YouTube channel. I just torture John every week.
Is it _ Dark Gravity?
Yeah. Dark _ Gravity _ EDC.
EDC. When I put it up, well, you can't see my thing _ EDC.
Yep.
But yeah, I put it up. Yeah, if y'all aren't following Dark Gravity, he's a good follow. He's changed my style. They don't make stuff as little enough for me.
Actually, 99% of it'll fit you and doesn't fit me. You can buy off the shelf. I have to hunt because you got to realize most of it is made for people when the average American was your size, not my size.
That's true.
Unfortunately, everything they make is still that way. Not everything, but most of it. Like you could go right now to any one of those websites and they'll have your size in stock.
Shoot me links when we get off here.
You don't want me to because it'll cost you a fortune.
Thank you. Don't. Guys, I'm going to let everybody go because I don't want to step on Manufacturing and Stevie's time. In Dark Gravity, I'm always glad when you join me, buddy. You've got more to offer than 99% of me.
Go get you a root beer.
Cheers. I need a root beer.
Cheers.
Guys, I love you all. Remember, choose debate before hate. And look out for the guy to your left. Look out for the gal to your right. Look out for each other. We're all a community. And learn to disagree. It's okay. I love you all. I'm about to end the broadcast with my slow computer, so it'll probably take 5-10 minutes.